All right, hello everybody. Today is Thursday, the 9th of February, 2023. Rob Mazak here, psychic medium. But today I'm going to kind of leave that most of the holistic and intuitive and spiritual realm out of this particular conversation. Just wanted to talk about a few things that seems to be really bringing to attention that the play that we're involved in is really the script is becoming very, very intense, and I can't say that it is scripted, but boy, I tell you what, it certainly seems like it, because the whole human behavior approach to getting us to accept and certain things, and to bring our emotions along to support some of the things that the United States is doing anyway. I say the United States as in our leadership and whomever is really pulling the strings of that particular leadership, because I think we've all figured out that the presidents and kings and emperors and whoever it is that is running countries is really kind of like the lead singer. They don't necessarily write the script. They don't necessarily, believe in everything that they're saying, but they're giving they're given a script and a plan, and expected to sing that plan, as you will, if we're using the analogy of a band. They don't write the music. They don't do any of that. So, in a lot of ways, we can look back at history and really pick out a lot of different leaders that didn't necessarily go along with the narrative, and some have been physically taken out. These are okay. These are my opinions. Okay, so these are not. I can't prove any of these things. I should have started with that, but I really, this is me talking. This is my opinions. This is how I'm seeing things from the outside, because I wasn't there. I wasn't able to put my eyes, ears, and all that on these particular situations. But I'm just looking from the outside, looking in, and kind of sharing my perspective. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have very similar ones. But back to leaders that are taken out, there's a lot of things to look at when you look at the JFK assassination, and there's a lot of things that might lead us to believe that that was done by our own folks, because of a lot of reasons, perhaps. But once again, I digress, because I wasn't there. But I think I was only I want to say 3 or 5 years old. I was pretty young when it all happened. So, I didn't know what was going on then. And, looking back at a lot of that, even Marilyn Monroe mysteriously coming up dead as well, and that connection. But anyway, I will move on. And so what I'm watching, at least from the United States side, I'm not talking just, the high-end leadership, but all the Congress and all of those folks that are involved in these things, the military industrial complex, if you will, leadership there. And, I love the military. I'm still in the military. But, sometimes you wonder what is really going on up top side, but I'm not here to question it. I'm here to just kind of talk about some things and bring my opinions forward. And I think the thing that really pinged me about starting this particular podcast was I was just, on the internet, and mainstream, MSN.com is my homepage, and so there's a lot of interesting mainstream news articles that pop up there that I like to kind of read through and pay attention to. And so there was a big red banner on the top of it this morning about how the entire congressional group, if you will, House and the Senate, unanimously, 435 to 0, it looked like. I think it was the number. But anyway, nobody voted against it to, quote unquote, condemn China for their high altitude spy program. And if you remember, over the last few days, this Chinese spy balloon thing that has been showing up all over the place, all over every news channel that I can see. And there's a lot of interesting things about that, So if we really have satellites around the planet, if it's a planet, then, I'm not sure why it's even necessary to have balloons like this. So China is claiming that it was a weather balloon, which, it could be. But there's also a lot of interesting alternative news channels that would speak to the fact that we are in an enclosed system with a dome, perhaps. Once again, I don't know. But that the only way we can really have pure or any kind of satellites from above would be to, put them on a balloon. And, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, ground-based stuff that would make it appear like we have satellites. But anyway, so this whole Chinese spy balloon thing is just really interesting. And so in some ways, I feel like this is like a false flag, if you will, where somebody else has put these balloons up there and are trying to blame it on China. Now, I don't know that, obviously, but we can go back and look at a lot of different things that have turned out to be false flags. So, not saying it is, just kind of throwing that idea out there. And now all of a sudden it's showing up all over the place. All these balloons, and you wonder who really put those up there. But I think the thing that really made me scratch my head was the fact that they waited until this balloon got over the ocean just east of the country. I forget exactly where it was at. But anyway, they waited. They let it float all the way across the United States until it got over water. And the claim was that they didn't want to hurt anybody or damage anybody on the ground. Well, I mean, when it first started talking about it was over Montana, and there's not that many people in Montana. I'm sure they could have found an area to drop it out of the sky, but maybe it really boils down to the fact that they didn't want anybody to be able to have access or eyes on any of the supposed spy electronics or systems on that balloon before they had a chance to get their hands on it. I say the governmental agencies that are, going and salvaging this wreckage. And so that's my thoughts on that. So in a lot of ways, it feels like this was just manufactured just to try to get us to start navigating a way to engage with China in a way that's not good, right? Make them the new enemy, if you will. But I don't know. I don't think I want to be enemies with China. For one, they have lots and lots of people and lots of technology, and they got billions of people living there. So I don't know, but I don't think we should be enemies with anybody, to be honest. But much less a country like that has that much technology. Plus, they also supply much of what we utilize in the United States. We are their biggest consumer, I understand. They make all of our medications. They do all kind of things. And so I kind of like China, in a lot of ways, because they really do help us out. And, so I wonder what this condemning China is really meant to do. Seems like a silly little move, if you will, or act that just, I don't get it. I condemn you. Anyway, so the other thing that's happening in relation to that, I was listening to the Redacted video last night, and I think it was released yesterday or day before. Redacted is pretty good, and I don't make anything off of talking about them, but they are really good at reporting things, and they do the physical reporting and get their eyes on things. And so I'll segue into what they were talking about, but part of the conversation was that around various strategic places around China, they are either upgrading or establishing new military bases, U.S. is, in very close proximity to China. And so my understanding from this particular show is that they are, once again, reinstating or putting in bases in the Philippines. And, I was there long ago when they had Subic Bay and all that, and then it went away in 1991, I think. And, now they're going back. And, that's kind of a telltale sign, if you ask me, that something is happening or something is being planned or they know something's coming, whatever. But, so, who's really at risk of who's being infringed upon? Is it the United States? Doesn't appear to be. But, like I said, I'm not part of the plan. I don't know. There's probably a lot of things I don't know. And I'm not going to pretend to know some things. And so, just me talking. And so, on that note, the Redacted folks, they did a really good reporting and show and investigation on the whole Nord Stream gas line sabotage, if you will, where it was blown up. And in all this time, I think it was almost a year ago, right? It's been a while. But they were blaming Russia for blowing up their own doggone pipelines. I'm like, or no, it's Germany's pipelines, I believe. But Russia blowing those up. And, it was, they did a really, just to summarize, they have a lot of information, credible information, firsthand information from some reporters that they spoke with and worked with. And oh, by the way, there was a huge naval exercise, United States naval exercise in conjunction with Norway, I believe, in and around the area where, ultimately the explosions happened. It's like, oh, goodness. Yes, a few months after the fact, but, just looking at conjecture and, it seems kind of logical that why would somebody like Russia, cut their own throat on that, if you will, because, the inexpensive natural gas was probably more beneficial to them than, not having it. And so, and if you look at, and some of the things they talked about, and they showed lots and lots of clips of this, is that many military leaders and politicians and high-end leaders in the United States were talking about the fact that Nord Stream 2 would not happen. It would not happen. There, promise you it will not happen. I'm like, well, it didn't. And so now it's all crumpled up at the bottom of the sea. And, oh, by the way, it's just some Navy exercises out there that they all know happened. And so, anyway, I encourage you guys to go look at that. It's Redacted. And so they're, I think they have a platform, but they have a YouTube channel as well, but they're really good. And let's see, what else is going on? So there was a video released, a very short clip, which was supposed to have happened directly after Biden's State of the Union address. And why are they releasing this? I'm sure it's because they want to stir the pot. I don't know. Could be. But the hot mic moment was when Biden mentioned to one of the members of Congress, I think, I don't recall the name, but that he needed to talk to him about Cuba. And he said, no, I'm serious. And so what the heck's going on in Cuba? I don't know. That's a new one on me. Why would they bring it up? But I would look to that for the future, because there may be some things going on with Cuba that will come up, right? The other thing that was interesting I saw, so again, I can't prove any of these things, but it's interesting, if you're just paying attention and looking at some of these different things, and you wonder why are they putting these things out? This information, or is it to create fear and get the emotions in line with what they want us to be at. I don't know. But the other thing that there was a clip of, I don't remember when this happened or what the date was, but the video was recently posted where someone in the higher end leadership of the United States was asked a question about transition to the Trump administration and from the Biden administration. And this particular person said, trust me, there's a plan, or I'm summarizing obviously, but trust me, there's a plan that the transition from the Biden administration to the Trump administration would be very smooth, and it wouldn't bring in any gaps of the United States safety. I forget exactly how they put that, but there's been a lot of rumors and a lot of talk about Trump, former President Trump, coming back into office again, and it wouldn't surprise me if that happens. But if it's true that what this guy is talking about is already on the agenda, that would be interesting. I guess it's easy to predict the future if you know the future, or if you're planning the future. But let's see what else is going on. Oh yes. So there was also another mainstream news story put up, and it was about the quote-unquote secret Russian spy satellite that was recently, it blew up. And my first thought was, once again, back to the balloons. Why would we need balloons to do spying when there's supposed to be satellites up there? And in this case, they had a picture, but of course CGI is easy to do. It's not hard to create something that looks real. However, they are also pinging on Russia doing spying. Well, we all do that, I think. I'm pretty sure everybody has. Back in the day, you used to have to use physical people to go spy, but now it's not that hard. It's really pretty easy. If you look at the internet, that's supposed to be bounced off satellites, and this grand network of things that orbit our planet. Why then is the planet wired for internet? You can go pull up maps, you can Google it and find it. It's everything that relates to the internet is cabled across the oceans and to the lands and everywhere. So I'm like, well, anyway. So once again, I would look for information about that. Russian spy satellites now it's blown up, and all this debris is up there, and could turn out to be an interesting story. But the other thing that I picked up today, or brought to my attention anyway, is that Biden very sternly said something in the State of the Union address, and it was something about the fact that, and very sternly said that Turkey needs to pay for what they've done. That I didn't catch the whole context, but there was a little clip of it. Turkey needs to pay for what they've done, it's interesting correlation that there's just massive earthquakes over there, and a lot of people go, well, that was natural. Well, I think there's a lot of evidence out there as well. At least from what I've looked at, that we can actually create that stuff, right? And so, I don't know if we can or not, but it seems interesting that, and I did see some videos posted about that earthquake that really made me scratch my head, because they're posting videos of the skies with these weird flashes of lights and the sky full of strange groaning noises before all this happened. And if you look at some of the videos that people have released from their, I assume their phones, of the way these buildings came down. Oh my goodness! It looks like in one of them, it looks like there was charges. Like they were actually just like they would demolish a building into its own footprint, kind of thing. And I'm like, this is very strange. I'm not saying any of this is true. Once again, it's just looking at it from the outside. I'm like, there's really something that doesn't line up. Blaming Turkey for something, and all of a sudden they have these massive earthquakes that now has their full attention is very interesting. And the probably the last thing I wanted to talk about today was also in this redacted video. They were talking about Haiti, and Haiti's been quite interesting topic lately. And there's a lot of things that we're doing there apparently that they don't want us to know. And part of the reporting was that now the Canadian folks are involved with Haiti, and to try to I guess settle out the gangs or whatever's going on there. And I mean, they had this big blockade with fuel and incoming fuel and all kind of stuff, and I found that interesting. And so it's not just us United States folks. I'm not saying we're the only ones doing these things. I'm just saying these are some of the things I've been picking up on. So apparently Canada's involved somehow with Haiti, and I've heard things here and there, and some innuendos and some suggestions that the United States is involved as well. So I don't know. Anyway, I think the reason I wanted to talk about these things is because guys, it doesn't take a psychic or anybody special to figure out that times are very difficult, and they're going to get more and more difficult. And it's time to really kind of dig in to preparing, and at least preparing with information. So like I've said in other videos and things, I really don't want to be the last one to find out or know about something as it shows up at my door. And so it's one thing to be sitting here in the US, and it's happening over there, it's happening over here, it's not in my back door. But if you don't care about what's going on out there, it may one day knock on your door, and then what are you going to do? So anyway, I'm not suggesting that we are or should be learning about these things to physically do anything about it, but an awareness is a good idea. And I think it also puts more importance on working on ourselves, because in all reality, it's difficult to fight City Hall, as they used to say, right? And so the machine's rolling, it's rolling hard. And so, but while we still can, let us work on controlling what we can control. And that's what's happening within ourselves, to go within, to really figure out who we are and why we're here, and ensure that what you're doing for your work is worth your life, so to speak. I mean, we're talking about big importance. I'm not saying we shouldn't quit our jobs because it's not satisfying, but we have bills to pay. I get it, but put a plan together. Let's look at where we need to go, what we need to do. And don't just sit back and expect that one day the government is going to help us out and save us, right? On that note, I will say that many of us are really bashing the government, and I guess in some ways I am talking about it, but I've talked to people before that completely and wholly thrive off of the United States government, disability and all kind of different things. Yet at the same time, they're openly and publicly bashing them directly. Here I am. I'm kind of throwing these things out as suggestions, but some of these folks I've conversed with, I mean, they're just outright accusing our government of doing certain things, and and I'm not saying there's not truth. I'm just saying that I would be mindful that you know, the United States government or any powers that be out here, you know, may not always be there for us. And so we need to find out ways to be more self-sufficient and surely be more self-secure, right? Anyway, I shall get off my soapbox, but you know, once again, you know, look towards your future, really dig in, work on yourselves, work on your families, you know, strengthen your household, and you know, prepare as best you can, because tough times are coming. I mean, it's pretty doggone obvious. It's not I mean, not even hiding it anymore. So anyway, stay strong, live your life, and I will talk to you soon.